Okay? All right. It's actually, I was saying before, it's tiring. To do the demonstration for me is easier than to have you guys running around doing the mold making. Mold making day, for when you guys are doing it, I'll come out of here just exhausted. Because I'm like, I end up doing like, 20 molds. So. Okay, so the first thing you would do here is just kind of give these a tap. You see now why I think that it's important just to have this kind of configuration. It's very easy. They should pop right off. Again, you should have your names on these and save them. I'm going to show you exactly why in a second. So that'll come off, right? Very easily. Now, getting this off. Now, what you guys would like, remember this one. You guys will likely have to work on this more than I will, but it does come off. If you're having trouble breaking yours off, come see me or whatever. But we can put it on the heater to warm up the clay. Usually, you're not going to have too much of a problem with this. All right, and then you have to clear out take your clay out. Okay. Can I have that bucket over there so I can throw this right in? Now, if your clay is hard, the tray for the clay that's over there on the table, the brown tray. If, we have some undercuts here that can, I'll just put it over here. Thank you very much. What I don't want to do is force this, all right? And when you're taking your time, like a good student, like I know you all are, you will put it on the heater, make sure you're pulling it out, make sure you get it all out of all the different cracks. You're going to have a lot more kind of complexity to it. So you're going to have to take a lot more time. But for demonstration's sake, this went very easily, right? What you'll then do is take your clay, pull off any plaster that might be in, clear it off really well. Don't put any crap back in the bucket here, and throw it in for recycling. Okay? So now you have a mold, right? Now, put your hands out. You can feel it. You can feel the heat on that, right? You know that it's still working. And normally what I would do is not work with this until it cools down, because when it's cooled down, it's done doing what it has to do, right? But I think just because I'm familiar enough with the process, I can move ahead. All right, so a couple things I want to do. Now the first is, you'll notice that rocking. That's not good. Why is it rocking? Well, there's a little kind of bead right there that I can knock down. I do want it to be flat.
Is this where the sandpaper comes in?
You can use a sandpaper, certainly, but the sandpaper will be used for the finish. There's a bunch of things you can do on the inside of your mold. The first of which is, like, what I will often do is put my name, so I put it backwards, right? So I can I'll just put my initials. Simple, Kind of have to be deeper than you think. But a nice, back end of the tool has a nice rounded shape. The pin tool is too thin. Just something like that. It makes it nice. All right? You can put a date on it if you want. The other thing you can do is you're going to start to see those high points. You could rub those off. You could use sandpaper. You want to just give me a little bit of that sandpaper there that's in your bucket? I would also knock down these edges just a little bit. You could do that with your hand. You could just use a kind of a tool like this to knock down the edges. Don't do too much on the inside. But just knocking down the edges is fine. Okay. You can sign the inside. You can use your tool to... when I work with sandpaper, what I'll do is I'll just rip strips of it, or cut strips. You can cut it like this, and then... Veronica, this is yours, right? Okay. You don't mind me using this a little bit of it? So, and then you can kind of grip it and then put your thumb there. That's the easiest way to use sandpaper. Emery boards, too, if you are a person who has emery boards. I don't personally. But then you can kind of get in there and knock that down. You can get to spots that were hard to get to before, is my emphasis, all right? So you can do a little altering here. And this comes from when you're doing a figure, when we do portraits. What I will do on the inside of my mold is I'll just take a cloth, like a piece of burlap, and we have burlap down here, and just rub the inside of it. And that gives it'll knock down any of the marks that were kind of these deeper cuts. Even when you have a brush and you go over clay, you're going to have these kind of deep marks on it that you won't notice. But on the inside, you rub that and you're kind of pushing from the inside, and you get this wonderful life to it. So you get this really great surface tension when you work from the inside of the mold. So it's not something that you want to do too much of, but when you do it effectively, it can be very powerful. Okay, so we'll do a little bit of this, a little bit of that, knock down the edges. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is reset these up. Actually, maybe what we'll do is we'll soak this up first. Now, let's just say you came back the next day and you're gonna do the casting of this. You've already cleaned it out. You've altered it in any way that you want. Maybe put your name on it. I do want you to put your name on it. And then what you're going to do is you're going to want to put a release agent onto this. New plaster will stick pretty well to old plaster in variant ways. But if it sticks at all, if your new plaster casting sticks at all to your mold, it's catastrophic, right? Because you've lost it. Any of the information there, you've lost. So we want to make absolutely sure that none of your new plaster will stick to your old plaster. So a very critical stage here is creating a separating layer, or a separator. And that is done by using Murphy's oil salt. So let's just assume that you did your mold yesterday, and now you're coming back today to do your mold. The first thing you want to do, let's just get a bucket here, is you want to completely submerge your plaster. Now this is fresh plaster, so it already has a lot of water.
Before we go to that next stage, because students, sometimes we do some work, we'll leave and come back to the studio. As long as that glue is cold and it's hardened, you should be able to go to the next step.
Oh, sure.
As opposed to coming back the next day.
You don't have to come back the next day. In fact, I'm doing it here. But I'm assuming that you are, because if I don't assume that and you don't do this next step, and you do it the next day, then it will be a problem. Because you want your